This is a problem I have experienced through life, and I have always blamed myself, and on my starting glass and removed the mask I wore than 70 years. The script was created collection of articles and samplications and will in the library and online.
Today, we're diving into a story that is just absolutely incredible. We're looking at how one deeply misunderstood doctor, Dr. Srivatsa, translated this highly complex, overarching vision into a literal world-saving technology. Now, this isn't just your standard story about a new app hitting the market. It's a fascinating look at the intersection of rare human psychology, a catastrophic global failure, and a tool specifically designed to teach the world how to listen again. So let's kick things off with a fundamental question. What happens when the person holding the cure speaks a language the rest of the world just completely refuses to understand? This is the core communication hurdle faced by rare, visionary personalities. As a rare personality, you identify a massive problem, you visualize and analyze literally every scenario, and you meticulously test your hypotheses. But when you try to actually warn people, you hit a brick wall. You are essentially unable to build widespread trust because humans who are not of a rare personality can generally only think and act based on their usual comfortable patterns. This explainer is all about how one man completely bypassed that hurdle. Section 1. The Visionary's Isolation. To truly grasp how this technology works, we first have to understand the unique psychological makeup of its creator. We are dealing with sheer statistical rarity here. Visionary personality types, like the INFJ at just 1.5% or the INTJ at 2.1%, make up a tiny, tiny fraction of the population. These are minds built for long-horizon, abstract pattern recognition. They see the future way before it actually arrives. But naturally, this extreme rarity creates a massive communication gap with the other 96% of the world. And this fundamental difference in mental wiring is exactly where the friction comes from. You see, a high IQ visionary is driven by objective truth and future consequences. They can look at data today and clearly see a catastrophic failure coming 30 years down the line. But institutions, they're totally different. They are driven by consensus and present-day protocols. They just want to keep the trains running on time today, so when the visionary says the tracks lead straight off a cliff 10 miles down the road, the institution just labels them as disruptive. The psychologist Carl Jung actually had a term for what the visionary is up against. He called it participation mystique. Basically, it's the default human condition where people are psychologically fused with the group mind. They honor these unspoken agreements to just ignore systemic dysfunctions. But the crucial point to remember here is that rare personalities live completely outside this participation mystique. They literally cannot unsee the systemic flaws that everyone else is totally comfortable ignoring. Which brings us to the man himself, Dr. Srivatsa. As a 30-year pediatric intensive care veteran, he possessed this high IQ pattern recognition. His absolute refusal to ignore the systemic flaws of modern medicine led to immense friction with the establishment. Unable to build widespread trust within a conventional system that just runs on those usual patterns, he was isolated. But this crucible led to a profound realization. As a rare personality, he realized he had a duty to overcome this communication hurdle and reach the exact people who would benefit from his insights directly. Section 2. The Healthcare Tourniquet. Okay, so what exactly was the catastrophic failure Dr. Srivatsa saw coming? 1.27 million. Take a second to process that number. That is the staggering amount of global deaths from antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, in the year 2019 alone. And it played a role in nearly 5 million more. This is a massive global medical crisis, fueled by institutional panic and a total breakdown of patient care. The stakes for this simply couldn't be higher. So how does a failure this big actually happen? Well, think about the COVID-19 pandemic. 95% of antibiotics were inappropriately prescribed. 95. COVID is a virus, guys. Antibiotics do absolutely nothing to viruses. Yet, liability-driven, panicked medical systems mass-produce this terrible outcome. Doctors were practically forced to act like machines, just throwing useless antibiotics at a virus to cycle terrified patients through the waiting room as fast as possible. Of course, the tech world tried to step in and fix this, right? But standard digital health fails miserably. Current medical AI apps are built as these rigid, defensive algorithms. It operates like a massive, terrifying game of guess who, just eliminating symptoms until it spits out a scary diagnosis. Because they're programmed by corporate lawyers to avoid liability, they default to maximum caution. They literally mass-produce panic, forcing people to rely on assumptions, ask random people for unverified advice, or urgently seek totally unnecessary hospital visits out of sheer fear.
Section 3. The Empathy Engine.
Our rare visionary knew he couldn't rely on the institution, so he built an entirely new communication bridge. The foundation of this bridge is perfectly captured in a quote he published in the British Medical Journal way back in 1996. The duty of a doctor is to listen to the story of a person. The goal here wasn't to build a better calculator. The goal was to create an AI that accepts and shares the patient's fears and problems. He shared this deep clinical wisdom with AI, helping it to actually think, act, and behave exactly like human doctors do. Let's break down how this works, because it is literally mind-blowing. How does a machine listen to a story? Dr. Maya AI analyzes the acoustic properties of the user's voice. It detects these imperceptible microtremors to gauge cortisol and stress levels. By knowing exactly how panicked the patient is, it modulates its response to provide what's called emotional scaffolding. It literally listens to the physical tension in a terrified patient's voice, structures their chaotic experience into a coherent clinical story, and builds a genuine connection. Section 4. The color-coded solution. So how does the AI communicate the solution once the patient is calm? Dr. Srivatsa created Maya, a simple tool that uses combinations of color-coded symptoms and signs to form a pattern that our brain can easily recognize. Red means severe emergency. Green is routine. Yellow is safe home care. And blue? That's a high infection risk requiring immediate isolation. This beautifully simple pattern allows for quick, informed decisions. Because of this, people won't have to rely on assumptions, endlessly search the internet for information, or rush to a clinic out of confusion. This is the true essence of Dr. Maya. She is a human-centered triage detective. The system completely abandons those cold, rigid algorithms that are only concerned with covering legal liability. Instead, it fully accepts the patient's story and provides clear, confident, unpanicked guidance. It empowers everyday people with the exact solutions they need to make the right calls for their own health.
Section 5. Bypassing the gatekeepers.
Now, you might be wondering, how does this amazing tool actually reach a terrified parent who maybe doesn't even own a smartphone or have stable Wi-Fi? Enter the Prima kiosk. This is the physical manifestation of Dr. Maya. It's a decentralized pre-triage gatekeeper meant to be deployed exactly where people actually live, outside pharmacies, in open-air markets, or rural villages. Whether Dr. Maya AI is accessed on WhatsApp, a Prima kiosk, a standalone computer, or a smartphone, it guarantees that crises are intercepted right at their origin. The absolute key here is bridging the digital divide to build that widespread trust. These standalone kiosks process the core AI logic locally, meaning they can work 100% offline. They are multimodal, speaking and listening in local dialects to bypass illiteracy entirely. They even employ local operators just to provide a comforting human presence for nervous patients interacting with the system. It ensures that the AI accepts and shares the stories of their problems, fears, and the exact solutions they need, whether you're a farmer in a rural village or a CEO in a high-rise. Section 6. The Global Defense Network. When you tie this entire decentralized system together, it acts as an epidemiological seismograph. This tool is widely considered a beacon of hope for humanity because people can actually protect themselves by simply avoiding or staying away from places where infection is spreading. By using that specific blue color code, which flags contagious pathogens, the system spots the smoke way before the forest catches fire. Maya helps infected individuals stay isolated, preventing the spread at home and protecting their loved ones. The system securely aggregates those anomalous blue flags in real time. Think about it. If 3 people in a local market all trigger a blue warning on a Tuesday morning, health officials are instantly alerted to the outbreak long before the local hospital waiting rooms start overflowing with contagious patients. It is a brilliant, active defense network against the silent, compounding crisis of superbugs. So we'll wrap up this explainer with a thought-provoking question for you to chew on. If a machine can learn to listen to our stories better than the system, what does that mean for the future of human connection? A visionary, a truly rare personality, used code to bridge an impossible communication gap. He bypassed an institution that refused to understand him, building an AI that actively listens, empathizes, and empowers the most marginalized people on Earth to reclaim their health. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most profound human connection can be taught back to us by the very technology we created. Thanks so much for joining me.